one?
We're good. Thanks, Blaze.
There we are. All right, welcome in, everybody. It's the evening of January the 22nd. This is the Arkansas Weather Network. I'm James Bryant, joined by Zach Hall and Blaze Thomas as well. And first up is our graphic. We want to let you know to download our app if you're not watching in the app. We have a major winter storm on the way, guys, and it is going to be one where we have lots of precipitation, heavy precipitation rates. And guys, if I had this thought today, if I was just a normal consumer of weather information, I would be confused because everybody's got a different graphic, different snow totals, different ranges, different ice totals, different sleet totals. Yes, I'm part of the problem. I made a map and I put it out there. But if you've got somebody in your life that's just getting confused, my suggestion is just stick with them. Stick with one source because generally all meteorologists are working really hard and losing sleep over this. And we're going to arrive at this general same conclusion. And the one takeaway that you should have is that there's going to be major issues and there's going to be major winter storm and there's going to be very, very heavy amounts. I can't stress that enough. Regardless of if you're in the snow zone, the snow sleet zone, the freezing rain zone, I mean, it's just going to be one of those winter storms I think we remember for a long time because of how heavy precipitation rates are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, every county's under a winter storm warning except for Ashley and Chico County, which are under ice storm warnings. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter where you live in Arkansas, you're going to observe impacts from this storm, whether it's from freezing rain, sleet, heavy snow, heavy sleet. Everyone is in on this storm from north to south to east to west. That should be the biggest take home, regardless of the amounts and all the stuff you see on social media.
Yeah. Blaze, you are you've been working all day on some things that we're going to have during our coverage over the course of the weekend. We will likely stream as we go. We'll do an update sometime Friday night, but we'll probably stream over the course of Saturday and into Sunday as we await this storm. But you want to tell us what you've been working on?
So we've got a live view of multiple iDrive Arkansas cameras, but not only that, is you will be able to see a pop-up screen. So anytime they report an accident to iDrive Arkansas, immediately it's going to pop up on our stream, but it's not on a map format. It's in text. So you'll see the county, you'll see the type of accident and when it was reported. So we're really excited to be implementing that, as well as you'll be able to see radar and everything. So you're seeing a lot of live coverage. That's the biggest thing, is we want to show people what it's doing across the state.
That's incredible, man. I can't wait to see it. So let's just try, and we've got several thousand people watching here. Let's just try to go through everything as simple and concise as we can without confusing everyone. The what is a major winter storm. You see the winter storm warning. Zach already explained it. Our timing, Zach, it hasn't really changed much at all.
No, we worked on this graphic today. We kind of bumped some stuff back just a hair. So Western Arkansas, we're thinking 4 to 8 p.m. arrival. School administrators in Western Arkansas, I know that some of you are dismissing early tomorrow. I think you can get away with getting a full day in, but I understand if you want to avoid the issues completely. In the light blue, we've got around 8 to 11 o'clock, and then Northeast Arkansas, probably in that 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. hours. The colors on the graphic have no regard to precipitation, wind, temperature, anything. It's just color-coded on the timing zones.
Yeah, and I think by 5 o'clock we're going to see stuff rolling into Southwest Arkansas. Now, this is the 18Z Euro data that came in just a couple hours ago, and through 3:30, it shows us mostly clear. Not clear, but no precipitation, and temperatures are still above freezing in far Southwest Arkansas. Now, that is going to change by the time I think we get to 6 o'clock. Yeah. West Arkansas first, Southwest Arkansas as well, likely still above freezing in that part of the state, but what you're going to see is the temperature drop really quickly. Guys, things ramp up, it appears, very quickly between 6 and 9 o'clock across western and central Arkansas.
Yeah, we're probably going to observe a very fast, if we have any just normal liquid rain above freezing, it's not going to last long. And Blaze, I know that we've talked about the longevity of this. If you want to speak to maybe us enduring the storm overnight Friday and into Saturday. James, if you want to loop in.
I think, if you're wherever you are at this point, you're stuck. I mean, there's no travel that's going to happen. I mean, there's just no way. So just know where you're going to go tomorrow morning and just be prepared so that the afternoon and I say early evening, but I'll be honest with you. The quicker you can get to the place that you're going to stay, the better, because there's less risk. And so if you've got something planned, tomorrow at 9:00, no, cancel that plans. Don't even try it because it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, the only part of the state that might be able to get away with that is Northeast Arkansas, really. That's like the only part of the state that might be a little bit late. So
the latest data that came in today, we noted it. It starts Central Arkansas out with snow tomorrow night. One of the only models to do this is a piece of data that we trust. Start Central Arkansas out with snow. But, guys, what you're going to notice is this line marches towards the north through the day on Saturday. I think that's still time to get a couple inches of snow in Hot Springs, Little Rock, Conway, places like that. So it's what you start with as your precipitation type doesn't mean that's what you're going to stay at the entire time we have this event going. This line's going to be moving around. It's going to move towards the north. It's going to drift back south. It's going to go back toward the north. And on Sunday, it'll be all snow for at least a period of time before things change. So you look at Saturday, 5 a.m., temperatures actually try to warm during the day. It doesn't matter. Everything's still going to be frozen. But you're probably dealing with heavy freezing rain and sleet in South Arkansas. That's not changed. Lots of sleet in Central Arkansas. Some snow, I think, especially to start, and maybe a little bit of freezing rain as well. Freezing rain is so gross, guys. I hope that we really don't see much of it. But we are going to see quite a bit of it, I think, in South Arkansas. Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
Zach.
Go ahead.
You get into Saturday afternoon, and that line is starting to push up. That sleet line, we think, is starting to push from a Fort Smith to Russellville to Searcy line. Zach, I think a big question is how far north does the sleet get? There's a lot of model data that shows it getting towards Mountain Home, Harrison, and Fayetteville. It's pretty far north.
I think it's going to be, I don't know if that is going to stay around real long, but it certainly looks like Saturday afternoon. And for those of you who don't really know, it's very cold at the surface, but there's a warm layer aloft, several thousand feet up in the atmosphere, that is warming. And that's what causes the freezing rain and the sleet rather than just a pure snow. And it could even make it into North Arkansas for a little bit on Saturday. We'll eventually fix that, I think, some late Saturday night and into Sunday morning and get more snow and sleet than freezing rain across a large chunk of the state. But there could be a window for some freezing rain and whatnot up in North Arkansas. So,
yeah, I really think the freezing rain portion of this is just confined to Central and South. Maybe Zach, don't you think it would be maybe a light glaze at most? Right. As far north as Fort Smith, Russellville, Searcy, and then it's all sleet and snow at that point.
I think so.
We'll go over some of the data. I also want to point out the colors here on Saturday afternoon get a little bit lighter. And that tells me we're going to have a little bit of a dry pocket come through during the middle of the storm. The storm really ramps back up Saturday evening into Sunday morning. I already know we're going to get some messages Saturday at 6 o'clock that says, "Is this it?" And we're like, the second half of the storm has yet to commence. But this storm, guys, it's in a lot of ways it's a classic Arkansas mess. Freezing rain, sleet, and snow. The difference here is that the precipitation rates are extremely heavy. That is the real big difference with this. It's water loaded, and that could result in some pretty heavy amounts.
We will definitely get messages on Saturday night from people asking, are we done? And the answer, we're just going to tell you, no. This is going to be a doozy, multi-day, so Saturday and Sunday both. Friday night, all day Saturday, Saturday night, and into Sunday morning, as you can see here. And Blaze, if you want to kind of round us out here on what we can expect Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, this is, right around lunchtime, and we're still seeing some light snow across northern Arkansas, and I think that's going to continue. And it could still be snowing as late as Sunday afternoon. So, I mean, because there's a lot of energy with the system, and it's going to be cranking a lot of precipitation. And again, the question's just going to be who gets snow, who gets sleet, who gets freezing rain. And I'll tell you guys, I hope we get all snow. For northern Arkansas, for the whole state of Arkansas, I hope it's all snow, but I know it's
More sleet than anything would be nice to avoid the
Yeah.
freezing rain, but this doesn't seem likely for some of us.
So here's a graphic that I pulled today, and this is National Weather Service data. This is their snow forecast. And I mean, what do you guys think? I think this is a very middle of the road approach on, if you had to say what I could expect today, this is what I'd tell you. And I would say this accounts for what you would see before the what ifs. Before, if I see thunder snow, before if I see thunder sleet, before what if I see more snow than sleet, what if I see more freezing rain than sleet. This just answers the most probabilistic, the most probable outcome that we have. Snow plus sleet.
It's for those of you watching and you look at the totals there, this takes out, like James said, a lot of variables. It does not account for banding, higher banding of snow. It doesn't, account for thunder snow or thunder sleet. It's basically the model's way of saying this is a very middle of the road graphic. It's easy come, easy go when it comes to these totals and stuff. It's not our forecast. It's just a blend of data more so.
Well,
than
this is the
National
Weather Service forecast.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought I saw NBM on there.
It's heavily weighted to the NBM. It's almost exactly the same. So you're right. I mean, that is a big part of how they make their forecast. The difference here I want to point out, though, you see blue on the map. South Arkansas, I mean, it's all sleet. If you see anything white on the ground, it's all sleet.
Yeah.
3 inches of sleet, guys, is a ton of sleet. A ton.
Bunch.
Now, obviously, you hope for sleet over freezing rain. This doesn't account for freezing rain. And then in central Arkansas, we're talking about 3 to 4 inches of sleet on the upper tier, maybe a little more. But then there will be some snow possible from Mena through the Little Rock area. I could have probably pushed this line a little bit further towards the north when we could actually see true snow is going to be the north half of the state. Little Rock northward, I think, is where you start to see true snowflakes forming and falling, at least at some point during the event, don't you think?
And sometimes I think people get lost in the numbers. They only see 4 inches, 5 inches. If that was somehow all sleet, which we don't, there's going to be some snow at times. That is an enormous amount of sleet. I mean, caking the roadways, making the roadways a disaster. Sleet is very hazardous to roadways. So, yeah, big deal.
Yeah, Blaze, would you speak to a little bit the North Arkansas situation? I think generally all snow, but there could be some sleet mixing in.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just looking at the models, they've kind of went back and forth. But I would say, anybody watching from Searcy County, Van Buren County, we do agree that most of it's going to be snow. And I think it's going to be a really good snow for like Jasper, Fayetteville, Harrison, Mountain Home.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be something you can get out and enjoy and, have a snowball fight.
I want to stress, guys, it's probably for most of the state not staying the exact same precipitation type the entire event. You're going to switch between, we could start as sleet, go to snow, go back to sleet. And that's at Little Rock. In Clinton, you could start as snow, go to sleet, go back to snow. And that's going to matter when it comes to your totals. That's why this National Weather Service snow and sleet forecast, I think, is just a good, realistic middle ground. Could there be a spot that gets 18 inches in North Arkansas? Probably so, wouldn't you say?
Yep. Yeah. I think there's a spot or two that probably do get the heavier snow totals that maybe hold on to pure snow most, if not the entire event. And that's what I hope people understand, how difficult this forecast is, because we're having to forecast 3 different precipitation types for 75 counties. So, I mean, seriously, it's almost impossible to do.
It is. And, like I said, there's a lot of good weather sources in Arkansas. We've all kind of got some different math on this. But if you've chosen to get your weather information here, we really, really appreciate it. Let's talk about the least fun part of this entire forecast. And, Zach, what this is the NBM ice forecast, and I've overlaid the National Weather Service expectation for ice along the US 82 corridor, generally speaking, not number for number. I'll speak a little bit to Central Arkansas, but I think a 1/4 inch in Little Rock looks high to me at this point. I think what we're going to see, if we see freezing rain, is a brief period before we go to sleet. So any power issues that we experience, on our forecast map today, we've got DeQueen, Arkadelphia, Pine Bluff south, and we're probably a little high on the ice total. We started at 0.5. It's probably a little lower than that. But our point is, with our pink shaded region, is DeQueen to Arkadelphia to Pine Bluff South is what's really going to be favored for ice, significant ice accumulations, which is over 1/4 of an inch. The zone that we really, really want to watch, guys, is that US 82 corridor. I think that's where we're really going to have major issues.
Yeah, I think the highest ice totals would be down south from Texarkana over through Magnolia, El Dorado, Lake Village, Crossett, and Monticello. So if you live in those counties, if you live in far southern Arkansas, like we've been saying for the last 2 days, you should be already prepped for an ice storm. But if you're not, you still have some time tomorrow to get that done, but you're running out of time. So make sure you're ready to go because this looks serious.
It does. And Zach, this is a map, again, that probably doesn't capture the most extreme scenario.
Right.
It's a kind of a what should I expect? But, if ice accumulation is heavier, and it will be in some spots, you're talking about over an inch of ice.
And we're talking about, folks, this is freezing rain. So not sleet, not snow. It's a liquid rain that falls to the surface and it accumulates on power lines, trees, elevated surfaces. It's disgusting. I'm just being honest with you. It is the worst precipitation type because of the problems that it causes. And with winds gusting this weekend, I think that could enhance the power outages across the region as well. So,
yeah, South Arkansas, those counties that we have highlighted in that purple shading, Miller County, Lafayette County, over to Deshay County, hopefully you're prepped for an ice storm. It just doesn't look like it's going to go the other way and be a ton of sleet. I think we're just going to have significant freezing rain accumulation in this area. So hopefully you're prepped for it. Again, to the I-40 corridor, we could see light accumulation of ice, but generally it's probably going to be not the kind that causes power outages. All right, guys, there's our forecast from earlier today. We're only updating it once a day because there's already enough snow maps out there. Obviously, this is not going to be perfect at this range, even 24 hours out, just because of all the precipitation types. Guys, I think this pretty well matches what we just showed as the National Weather Service snow forecast. We're not too far off from what they released this afternoon.
Yeah, I'll take a part of this and Blaze, move on from that. But we're really confident that the northern half of the state should observe mostly snow and sleet, like we've discussed in this video. But as far as the rest of the state, Blaze, if you want to touch on the battle zone there in the light pink, that's probably the area where there's a lot of question marks on precipitation types, like James just mentioned.
Right, and that's going to be the question. And the models, they just keep flipping back and forth. We got all different kind of models here, but, they're not the best, and we know this. So, sometimes we're seeing indications that, solutions will be more sleet and then more snow, and they're just kind of going back and forth. But I think, guys, I agree with what we've got on here, and I think, looking at the models, it lines up, and I think this is a really good forecast.
If I had to change this map right now, or if I had to assume there could be some changes coming in the morning, it's probably bringing the 6 to 10 further south just a little bit.
Yeah.
Based on some of the new data, and then pushing that freezing rain 0.5 to 1 just a little bit further south, because this zone in here, Mena, DeQueen, Arkadelphia, Hot Springs, Pine Bluff, Stuttgart, I think there's just going to be a ton of sleet, a ton.
Which is a good thing, James. That's a fantastic development today, is that we might have more sleet than we anticipated rather than freezing rain. So a great development on our end. Hopefully that trend holds through the next 24 hours.
Well, and I think that'll also help, more power. We'll have less power outages, which is really good news for everybody.
It's twofold. It's good. We don't want people to lose power at all. But the impact to travel, I think people really underestimate, because they think, it's sleet. I can drive on sleet initially. That is true. You can. After it's been there for 24 hours and we're at 5 degrees, you cannot drive on sleet. It's just a concrete sheet of ice. And I think we're going to see that across a large part of Central and South Arkansas into Monday and Tuesday, and travel is just going to be extremely difficult for a long, long time.
Yep. That's a great point. Yeah. Sometimes I get caught up in Blaze, like I get caught up in the, freezing rain causes the power outages. So we don't want that. We want sleet. But then sometimes you do forget that the sleet could really devastate roadways, especially local roadways that don't get a ton of traffic.
Yeah.
I
shaded roadways.
Yeah. I'm expecting, there to be, school's going to be canceled for a while. And I mean, there's no other way of saying it, there will be roads that get cleared as quickly as possible, but I think there will be some snow days for these kids.
Yeah, early next week for sure.
Hopefully for some of the adults too. They need a day off of work or two.
That's true.
So, all right. Well, there's our forecast so far, guys. Summing it up, it's this graphic right here. And we're all over the place with precipitation types. That's why it is the hardest forecast to make in meteorology. When you have all three in the mix, and Arkansas often does, it's nothing new. The big difference here is that we just have a lot of everything falling, whether it's snow, sleet, or freezing rain. It's just a lot of it.
There is people that will get all of these precipitation types, maybe even a liquid rain for a very brief amount of time in southwest Arkansas tomorrow evening. But for most of you, freezing rain, sleet, and snow. Obviously, some of North Arkansas might just get a pure snow. South Arkansas, mainly freezing rain. But there will be people watching this who get all three of them, maybe even all four of them. Who knows?
Yeah. And guys, we have to mention it. This is the coldest 10-day period since 2021, February 2021. Maybe even colder.
Wow.
This is a blend of model data, and it's way colder than what it was when I looked at it earlier. It looks very cold next weekend.
Yes.
That's just Central Arkansas. You can find your numbers on the Arkansas Weather Network app. But guys, we're talking about serious cold that most of us just haven't really experienced too often in our lives.
No, and I don't feel like myself, I'm not speaking for James or Blaze, I don't feel like I've done a good enough job talking about it. It's going to be significantly cold during the system and after, early next week. We're not warming up big time. And I think we all get lost in the winter storm. You don't really think about the after impacts. But we're talking life-threatening cold, below zero wind chills at times. Temperatures maybe even below zero if we have enough snowpack. So big-time cold to round out the weekend and start early next week, and no big warm-ups in sight.
Yeah, that's temperatures, guys. That's temperatures we're looking at. Those wind chills will be much colder than that.
Well, and there's going to be people out there that I'm sure need a warming center, and there's several warming centers across the state. Just call your local, county office and just see where these warming centers are. I had a meeting with the Van Buren County team today and heard of several warming centers in this county. And I know there's a lot of counties that have warming centers. So because with these cold temperatures, and again, let's talk about fire safety and heat safety. If you're running that, fireplace and you're, whatever you're doing, do it safely and make sure, I really think it's a good idea. I was hoping today people would do test runs, and make sure everything's good. But tomorrow morning, get up, test things, make sure that everything's good to go. That way, when the event does happen, you're not caught off guard and you have a fire. Because, again, we talked about yesterday, it is really tough for the fire department to fight structure fires when it's so cold outside because the water just freezes. Yeah. So,
good point.
Help eliminate that.
We got a winter storm checklist here, James. You want to go over a few of these with everybody?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. A lot of this is self-explanatory. Obviously, avoid travel. Blaze kind of talked about it a little bit, the alternate heat source. I want everyone to remember, if you had issues with pipes freezing in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and extremely cold for at least 1 week the last 5 years, but especially in 2021 and 2022, make sure you take some steps to insulate them again, because if you had issues back then, you're going to have issues this week.
Yep, we don't want to sound like an alarmist, and the grocery stores have been busy enough, but you still have some time, you have some things you want to get. But guys, this is one of those storms that's going to shut the state down for a couple of days. Most of the day Saturday, Sunday morning, probably Sunday afternoon, and maybe even the first half of the day on Monday. So just whatever you need to get to keep yourself entertained and fed for a couple of days. If you don't want to travel on nasty roads, then you've got some time tomorrow before this arrives tomorrow evening.
Well, all right, guys, that's all I've got for tonight. We're already pretty tired, so we've got to get some rest before things really get going late tomorrow night. It'd be hard to sleep tomorrow night with this storm moving in the way it is.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. I'm ready for this thing to be here and out of here. No shame in admitting that. I'm over it. So I will catch everyone later. Blaze, if you want to send us off.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget, download the Arkansas Weather Network app for the iOS Google Play Store. And, you can find all kinds of information on our website, our socials, and we just appreciate the support. All right, guys, we'll see y'all
Thank you,
later.
guys.